Chapter 6. It happened in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziv, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. The house which King Solomon built for the Lord, the length of it was 60 cubits, and the breadth of it 20 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. The porch before the temple of the house, 20 cubits was the length of it, according to the breadth of the house, and 10 cubits was the breadth of it before the house. For the house he made windows of fixed lattice work. Against the wall of the house he built stories round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle, and he made side chambers round it. The nethermost story was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For on the outside he made offsets in the wall of the house round about, that the beams should not have hold in the walls of the house. The house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready at the quarry, and there was neither hammer, nor axe, nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was being built. The door for the middle side chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up by winding stairs into the middle story, and out of the middle into the third. So he built the house and finished it, and covered the house with beams and planks of cedar. He built the stories against all the house, each 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timbers of cedar. The word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, Concerning this house which you are building, if you will walk in my statutes, and execute my ordinances, and keep all my commandments to walk in them, then I will establish my word with you which I spoke to David your father. I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built the house and finished it. He built the walls of the house within with boards of cedar, from the floor of the house to the walls of the ceiling. He covered them on the inside with wood, and he covered the floor of the house with boards of fir. He built 20 cubits on the back part of the house with boards of cedar from the floor to the walls of the ceiling. He built them for it within for an oracle, even for the most holy place. The house, that is, the temple before the oracle, was 40 cubits long. There was cedar on the house within, carved with buds and open flowers. All was cedar. There was no stone seen. He prepared an oracle in the midst of the house within, to set there the ark of the covenant of the Lord. Within the oracle was a space of 20 cubits in length, and 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in the height of it, and he overlaid it with pure gold, and he covered the altar with cedar. So Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold, and he drew chains of gold across before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. The whole house he overlaid with gold, until all the house was finished. Also the whole altar that belonged to the oracle he overlaid with gold. In the oracle he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the other wing of the cherub. From the uttermost part of the one wing to the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits. The other cherub was 10 cubits. Both of the cherubim were of the same measure and form. The height of the one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was it of the other cherub. He set the cherubim within the inner house, and the wings of the cherubim were stretched forth, so that the wing of the one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the middle of the house. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. He carved all the walls of the house round about with carved figures of cherubim, and palm trees, and open flowers inside and outside. The floor of the house he overlaid with gold inside and outside. For the entrance of the oracle he made the doors of olive wood. The lintel and doorpost were a 5th part of the wall. So he made 2 doors of olive wood, and he carved on them carvings of cherubim, and palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold, and he spread the gold on the cherubim and on the palm trees. So he also made for the entrance of the temple doorpost of olive wood, out of a 4th part of the wall, and 2 doors of fir wood. The 2 leaves of the one door were folding, and the 2 leaves of the other door were folding. He carved on them cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, and he overlaid them with gold fitted on the engraved work. He built the inner court with 3 courses of hewn stone, and a course of cedar beams. In the 4th year was the foundation of the house of the Lord laid, in the month of Ziv. In the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished throughout all the parts of it, according to all the fashion of it. So he was 7 years in building it. Chapter 7. Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. For he built the house of the forest of Lebanon, and the length of it was 100 cubits, and the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits, on 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams on the pillars. It was covered with cedar above the 45 beams that were on the pillars, 15 in a row. There were beams in 3 rows, and a window was set over against window in 3 ranks. All the doors and posts were made square with beams, and windows were over against windows in 3 ranks. He made the porch of pillars. The length of it was 50 cubits, and the breadth of it 30 cubits, and a porch before them, and pillars, and a threshold before them. He made the porch of the throne where he was to judge, even the porch of judgment, and it was covered with cedar from floor to floor. His house where he was to dwell, the other court within the porch, was of the same work. He made also a house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom Solomon had taken as a wife, like this porch. All of these were of costly stone, even of hewn stone, according to measure, sawed with saws inside and outside, even from the foundation to the coping, and so on the outside to the great court. The foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. Above were costly stones, even hewn stone, according to measure, and cedar wood. The great court round about had 3 courses of hewn stone, and a course of cedar beams, like as the inner court of the house of the Lord, and the porch of the house. King Solomon sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. He was the son of a widow of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill, to work all works in brass. He came to King Solomon and performed all his work, for he fashioned the 2 pillars of brass 18 cubits high apiece, and a line of 12 cubits compassed either of them about. He made 2 capitals of molten brass to set on the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of checkerwork and wreaths of chainwork for the capitals which were on top of the pillars, 7 for the one capital, and 7 for the other capital. So he made the pillars, and there were 2 rows round about on the one network, to cover the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and so he did for the other capital. The capitals that were on the top of the pillars in the porch were of lily work, 4 cubits. There were capitals above also on the 2 pillars, close by the belly which was beside the network, and the pomegranates were 200, in rows round about on the other capital. He set up the pillars at the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillar, and called the name of it Jachin, and he set up the left pillar, and called the name of it Boaz. On the top of the pillars was lily work, so was the work of the pillars finished. He made the molten sea of 10 cubits from brim to brim, round in form, and the height of it was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits compassed it round about. Under the brim of it round about there were buds which did compass it, for 10 cubits, compassing the sea round about. The buds were in 2 rows, cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east, and the sea was set on them above, and all their hinder parts were inward. It was a handbreadth thick, and the brim of it was worked like the brim of a cup, like the flower of a lily. It held 2,000 baths. He made the 10 bases of brass. 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth of it, and 3 cubits the height of it. The work of the bases was on this manner. They had panels, and there were panels between the ledges, and on the panels that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubim. And on the ledges there was a pedestal above, and beneath the lions and oxen were wreaths of hanging work. Every base had 4 brazen wheels and axles of brass, and the 4 feet of it had supports. Beneath the basin were the supports molten, with wreaths at the side of each. The mouth of it within the capital and above was a cubit, and the mouth of it was round after the work of a pedestal, a cubit and a half. And also on the mouth of it were engravings, and their panels were 4 square, not round. The 4 wheels were underneath the panels, and the axle of the wheels were in the base, and the height of a wheel was a cubit and a half. The work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axles and their rims and their spokes and their naves were all molten brass. There were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each base. The supports of it were the base itself. In the top of the base was there a round compass half a cubit high, and on the top of the base the stays of it and the panels of it were of the same. On the plate of the stays and on the panels he engraved cherubims, lions, and palm trees, according to the space of each, with wreaths round about. After this manner he made the 10 bases. All of them had 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 form. He made also 10 basins of brass. 1 basin contained 40 baths, and every basin was 4 cubits, and on every one of the 10 bases 1 basin. He set the bases, 5 on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house, and he set the sea on the right side of the house eastward toward the south. Hiram made the bases, and the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he worked for King Solomon in the house of the Lord. The 2 pillars, and the 2 bowls of the capitals that were there on top of the pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on the pillars, and the 10 bases, and the 10 basins on the bases, and the 1 sea, and the 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, even all these vessels which Hiram made for King Solomon in the house of the Lord were of burnished brass. In the plain of the Jordan did the king cast them, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zerathon. Solomon left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceedingly many. The weight of the brass could not be found out. Solomon made all the vessels that were in the house of the Lord, the golden altar, and the table whereupon the showbread was of gold, and the lampstands, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left before the oracle, of pure gold, and the flowers and the lamps and the tongs of gold, and the cups and the snuffers and the basins and the spoons and the fire pans of pure gold, and the hinges, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, even of the temple, of gold. Thus all the work that King Solomon worked in the house of the Lord was finished. Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessels, and put them in the treasuries of the house of the Lord. Chapter 8. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the princes of the fathers' houses of the children of Israel, to King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion. All the men of Israel assembled themselves to King Solomon at the feast, in the month Ethanim, which is the 7th month. All the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark. They brought the ark of the Lord in the tent of meeting, and all the vessels that were in the tent, even these did the priests and the Levites bring up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel, who were assembled to him, were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be counted nor numbered for multitude. The priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord to its place, into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread forth their wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and the poles of it above. The poles were long, so that the ends of the poles were seen from the holy place before the oracle, but they were not seen outside, and they are there to this day. There was nothing in the ark save the 2 tables of stone, which Moses put there at Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Egypt. It came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. Then Solomon spoke, "The Lord has said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. I have surely built you a house of habitation, a place for you to dwell forever." The king turned his face about, and blessed all the assembly of Israel, and all the assembly of Israel stood. He said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who spoke with his mouth to David your father, and has with his hand fulfilled it, saying, Since the day that I brought forth my people Israel out of Egypt, I chose no city out of all the tribes of Israel to build a house, that my name might be there. But I chose David to be over my people Israel. Now it was in the heart of David my father to build a house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to David my father, Whereas it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Nevertheless you shall not build the house, but your son who shall come forth out of your loins, he shall build the house for my name. The Lord has established his word that he spoke. For I have risen up in the place of David my father, and sit on the throne of Israel as the Lord promised, and have built the house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. There I have set a place for the ark, in which is the covenant of the Lord, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord, in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread forth his hands towards heaven, and he said, O Lord, the God of Israel, there is no God like you, in heaven above, or on earth beneath, who keeps covenant and loving kindness with your servants, who walk before you with all their heart. You have kept with your servant David my father that which you did promise him. Yes, you spoke with your mouth, and have fulfilled it with your hand, as it is this day. Now therefore, O Lord, God of Israel, keep with your servant David my father that which you have promised him, saying, There shall not fail you a man in my sight to sit on the throne of Israel, if only your children take heed to their way, to walk before me as you have walked before me. Now therefore, God of Israel, please let your words be verified which you spoke to your servant David my father. But will God in very deed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens can't contain you, how much less this house that I have built. Yet have respect for the prayer of your servant, and for his supplication, O Lord my God, to listen to the cry and to the prayer which your servant prays before you this day, that your eyes may be open toward this house night and day, even toward the place of which you have said, My name shall be there, to listen to the prayer which your servant shall pray towards this place. Listen to the supplication of your servant and of your people Israel, when they shall pray toward this place, yes, here in heaven your dwelling place, and when you hear, forgive. If a man sins against his neighbor, and an oath be laid on him to cause him to swear, and he come and swear before you in the altar in this house, then hear in heaven and do, and judge your servants, condemning the wicked to bring his way on his own head, and justifying the righteous to give him according to his righteousness. When your people Israel are struck down before the enemy, because they have sinned against you, if they turn again to you and confess your name and pray and make supplication to you in this house, then hear from heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel, and bring them again to the land which you gave their fathers. When the sky is shut up and there is no rain, because they have sinned against you, if they pray toward this place and confess your name and turn from their sin when you do afflict them, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants and of your people Israel, when you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and send rain on your land, which you have given to your people for an inheritance. If there be in the land famine, if there be pestilence, if there be blasting or mildew, locust or caterpillar, if their enemy besiege them in the land of their cities, whatever plague, whatever sickness there be, whatever prayer and supplication be made by any man, or by all your people Israel, who shall know every man the plague of his own heart, and spread forth his hand toward his house, then please hear in heaven your dwelling place, and forgive, and do and render to every man according to all his ways, whose heart you know. For you, even only you, know the hearts of all the children of men, that they may fear you all the days that they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. Moreover, concerning the foreigner, who is not of your people Israel, when he shall come out of a far country for your name's sake, for they shall hear of your great name, and of your mighty hand, and of your outstretched arm, when he shall come and pray toward his house, here in heaven, your dwelling place, and do according to all that the foreigner calls to you for, that all the peoples of the earth may know your name, to fear you, as does your people Israel, and that they may know that this house which I have built is called by your name. If your people go out to battle against their enemy, by whatever way you shall send them, and they pray to the Lord toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house which I have built for your name, then hear in heaven their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against you, for there is no man who doesn't sin, and you are angry with them and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captive to the land of the enemy, far off or near, yet if they shall repent themselves in the land where they are carried captive, and turn again, and make supplication to you in the land of those who carried them captive, saying, We have sinned and done perversely, we have dealt wickedly. If they return to you with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies who carried them captive, and pray to you toward their land which you gave to their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name, then hear their prayer and their supplication in heaven your dwelling place, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, and all their transgressions in which they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before those who carried them captive, that they may have compassion on them. For they are your people, and your inheritance, which you brought forth out of Egypt, from the midst of the furnace of iron, that your eyes may be opened to the supplication of your servant, and to the supplication of your people Israel, to listen to them whenever they cry to you. For you did separate them from among all the peoples of the earth to be your inheritance, as you spoke by Moses your servant, when you brought our fathers out of Egypt, O Lord God. It was so, that when Solomon had made an end of praying all this prayer and supplication to the Lord, he arose from before the altar of the Lord, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread forth toward heaven. He stood and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be the Lord, who has given rest to his people Israel, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good promise, which he promised by Moses his servant. The Lord our God be with us, as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts to him, to walk in all his ways, and to keep his commandments, and his statutes, and his ordinances, which he commanded our fathers. Let these my words, with which I have made supplication before the Lord, be near to the Lord our God day and night, that he maintain the cause of his servant, and the cause of his people Israel, as every day shall require, that all the peoples of the earth may know that the Lord, he is God, there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with the Lord our God, to walk in his statutes, and to keep his commandments as at this day. The king and all Israel with him offered sacrifices before the Lord. Solomon offered for the sacrifice of peace offerings, which he offered to the Lord, 22,000 oxen, and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of the Lord. The same day did the king make the middle of the court holy, that was before the house of the Lord. For there he offered the burnt offering, and the meal offering, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the brazen altar that was before the Lord was too little to receive the burnt offering, and the meal offering, and the fat of the peace offerings. So Solomon held a feast at that time, and all Israel with him, a great assembly, from the entrance of Hamath to the brook of Egypt, before the Lord our God, 7 days, and 7 days, even 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and went to their tents joyful and glad of heart, for all the goodness that the Lord had shown to David his servant, and to his people Israel. Chapter 9. It happened, when Solomon had finished the building of the house of the Lord and the king's house, and all Solomon's desire which he was pleased to do, that the Lord appeared to Solomon the second time, as he had appeared to him at Gibeon. The Lord said to him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you have made before me. I have made this house holy which you have built, to put my name there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. As for you, If you will walk before me as David your father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, and will keep my statutes and my ordinances, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom over Israel forever, according as I promised to David your father, saying, There shall not fail you a man on the throne of Israel. But if you shall turn away from following me, you or your children, and not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, but shall go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel out of the land which I have given them, and this house, which I have made holy for my name, I will cast out of my sight, and Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all peoples. Though this house is so high, yet every one who passes by it will be astonished, and shall hiss, and they will say, Why has the Lord done this to this land and to this house? And they shall answer, Because they forsook the Lord their God, who brought forth their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped them and served them. Therefore has the Lord brought all this evil on them. It happened at the end of 20 years, in which Solomon had built the 2 houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house. Now Hiram the king of Tyre had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees, and with gold, according to all his desire. Then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, and they didn't please him. He said, What cities are these which you have given me, my brother? He called them the land of Cabul to this day. Hiram sent to the king 120 talents of gold. This is the reason of the levy which King Solomon raised, to build the house of the Lord, and his own house, and Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh king of Egypt had gone up and taken Gezer, and burnt it with fire, and slain the Canaanites who lived in the city, and given it for a portion to his daughter, Solomon's wife. Solomon built Gezer, and Beth-horon the lower, and Baalath, and Tamar in the wilderness in the land, and all the store cities that Solomon had, and the cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and that which Solomon desired to build for his pleasure in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and all the land of his dominion. As for all the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of the children of Israel, their children who were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel were not able to utterly destroy, of them did Solomon raise a levy of bondservants to this day. But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondservants, but they were the men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers of his chariots and of his horsemen. These were the chief officers who were over Solomon's work, 550, who bore rule over the people who labored in the work. But Pharaoh's daughter came up out of the city of David to her house which Solomon had built for her. Then he also built up Milo. 3 times a year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar which he built to the Lord, burning incense on the altar that was before the Lord. So he finished the house. King Solomon made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. Hiram sent in the navy, his servants, sailors who had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. They came to Ophir and fetched from there gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon. Chapter 10. When the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. She came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bore spices and very much gold and precious stones, and when she was come to Solomon, she talked with him of all that was in her heart. Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hidden from the king which he didn't tell her. When the queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, and the house that he had built, and the food of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their clothing, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up to the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. She said to the king, "It was a true report that I heard in my own land of your acts and of your wisdom. However, I didn't believe the words until I came, and my eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told me. Your wisdom and prosperity exceed the fame which I heard. Happy are your men. Happy are these your servants who stand continually before you and who hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who delighted in you to set you on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. Therefore he made you king, to do justice and righteousness. She gave the king 120 talents of gold, and a very large amount of spices and precious stones. There came no more again such abundance of spices as these which the queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. The navy also of Hiram, that brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir great quantities of almug trees and precious stones. The king made of the almug trees pillars for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house, harps also and psalteries for the singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were they ever seen again to this day. King Solomon gave to the queen of Sheba all her desire, whatever she asked, besides that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own land, she and her servants. Now the weight of the gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents of gold, besides that which the traders brought, and the traffic of the merchants, and of all the kings of the mixed people, and of the governors of the country. King Solomon made 200 bucklers of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went to one buckler. He made 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went to one shield, and the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. Moreover, the king made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with the finest gold. There were 6 steps to the throne, and the top of the throne was round behind, and there were stays on either side by the place of the seat, and 2 lions standing beside the stays. 12 lions stood there on the one side, and on the other, on the 6 steps. There was nothing like it made in any kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was accounted for nothing in the days of Solomon. For the king had a sea, a navy of Tarshish, with the navy of Hiram. Once every 3 years the navy came of Tarshish, bringing gold, and silver, ivory, and apes, and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth in riches and in wisdom. All the earth sought the presence of Solomon, to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. Every man brought his tribute, vessels of silver, and vessels of gold, and clothing, and armor, and spices, horses and mules, at a set rate year by year. Solomon gathered together chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots, and 12,000 horsemen, that he kept in the chariot cities, and with the king at Jerusalem. The king made silver to be in Jerusalem as stones, and cedars he made to be as the sycamore trees that are in the lowland for abundance. The horses which Solomon had were brought out of Egypt, and the king's merchants received them in quantities, each quantity at a price. A chariot came up and went out of Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150. And so for all the kings of the Hittites, and for the kings of Syria did they bring them out by their means.